Hi everybody, welcome to week 6, the ELA instructional video. So here's our weekly overview. If you watch the weekly overview video, it gives you more information about all of these tasks, but currently you are on task number 2. This is the instructional video. This week there's going to be 2 instructional videos and then the writing video. So there's a total of 3 videos for reading and writing or ELA for this week. The standard that we're working on is describe the overall structure of events, ideas, concepts, or information in a text or part of a text. So this week we are only focusing on cause and effect, a whole week. So cause and effect text structure. So the cause is the reason why something happens, and then the effect is the result of what happened. So why? Good readers ask themselves what happens and why it happens. Words like because and so can help you figure out what happens, which is the effect, and why it happens, which is the cause. So some signal words for cause and effect are if, blah, 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 then, blah, 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 lead to, consequently, as a result, in order to, this caused, because, for this reason, due to, resulting, so, since, this is why, therefore, according. So you can see our little picture. The cause is it's raining. The effect is we may have a rainbow, flowers might grow, and then I think this is just that something to do with the ocean. All right, so here's some more examples of cause and effect. So we're studying hard, and then the effect is you get your university degree when you work and study hard. You save money. The effect is you could take a trip and you could travel. The cause is exercise. The effect is weight loss. You might lose weight. The cause is winning the lottery. And then the effect is you have a wealthy lifestyle. So you have a nice house and you have cars and so on. So here's another example. The boy blew a big bubble. That's the cause. The effect is it splattered on his face. So remember, the cause is why something happens, and the effect is what happens because of it. So here's some vocabulary for the first text that we're going to read for this week. So the first word is cheaply. That means you get something for little or no money. The next word is ingredient. That is the things or food that go into a certain item. The next word is a trading center, which is a place where things were bought, sold, or traded. And the last word is swell. So that means dealing with the loss of something. Okay, text 1. So this is the first video. The next text will be in the second video. The first text is why salt. So let's go ahead. We're going to briefly skim this, and we're going to identify the topic of our text. So I see the title is why salt. So I think this text is, and it says underneath the title, part of the title, it says valuable little cubes. So I think this text is probably going to be about salt. Okay, so let's go ahead and read our text. So today, salt is given out freely in shakers and packets at our favorite restaurants. We can buy it cheaply at any grocery store, but it hasn't always been so easy to get salt. This tiny crystal cube has played a much more important role in history than just flavoring our fries. Around the world, cities were founded, roads were built, wars were fought, and trade routes were established, all for one reason. Humans can't live without salt. Literally. Because of this simple fact, salt became a valuable item a long time ago. People who controlled salt had power. Around 2,000 years ago, some of the people with salt and power were the Romans. One way Rome controlled salt was by buying villages along the Mediterranean coast. This gave them access to the sea where they could harvest salt. One of the great roads built by Romans is called Via Salarium, or Salt Road. It is the oldest road in Italy today. As you might have guessed, it was built to transport salt. As Rome grew, it became a great trading center, and salt was one of the main items traded there. Salt was so important in the daily lives of the Romans that soldiers were paid in blocks of salt. This pay was called salarium argentum, argentums, or salt money, giving us our word salary today. In fact, the word soldier comes from the Latin sodar, meaning to give salt. Throughout history and around the world, governments have regulated and taxed salt. Salt played a role in the history of our country too. In both the Revolutionary and Civil Wars, keeping enough salt for the soldiers was important. In these and other wars, enemies have tried to keep salt away from each other. The history of the world is overflowing with stories of salt. What's so important about salt? Human beings can't live without salt. It is a basic ingredient in our bodies. Salt in our tears, sweat, saliva, blood, and even in our urine. Without this mineral in our cells, nerves and muscles can't do their jobs properly. However, too much salt can cause kidneys to work overtime, blood vessels to swell, and blood pressure to go dangerously high. Our health depends on having the right amount of salt in our bodies. Generally, the human body is very good at keeping our salt levels balanced, but sometimes that balance can be thrown off. Our diets, for example, might contain extremely low or extremely high amounts of salt. If this goes on for too long, there could be serious consequences, even death. When humans survived on the meat they hunted, their bodies got enough salt from the animal they ate. As people learned to grow their vegetables and grains and began to eat less meat, salt became more important, and it was often hard to find. The need for salt and the limited supply of it made salt very valuable. All right, so let's look at our guiding questions. Hold on, let me move this out of the way. So the first question, in paragraph 3, what can we infer about salt? So let's reread paragraph 3. As Rome grew, it became a great trading center, and salt was one of the main items traded there. Salt was so important in the daily lives of Romans that soldiers were paid in blocks of sal. So I can infer that salt was very important in Rome, and Rome maintaining its structure or continuing to exist. Which sentences in the text support the author's point that salt was important to the human body? So I know if I look at this heading here that says, what's so important about salt, that's probably going to tell me why it's so important to the human body. So the first sentence in paragraph 5 says, human beings can't live without salt. Well, that tells me why it's important if you can't live without it. It is a basic ingredient of our bodies. So all of the sentences in paragraph 5 really do answer why salt is so important to the human body. So I would say, actually, the last sentence tells me why too much salt is bad for the human body. So I would say where it says, without these minerals, our cells, nerves, and muscles can't do their jobs properly. That sentence tells me why salt is so important for the human body. What is the meaning of the word transport as is used in paragraph 2? So remember when we have a vocabulary or a question that says, what is the meaning? We want to go back and look at the text and read the sentence before, and if there's a sentence after, we're going to read that. So I see transport is right here at the end of paragraph 2. So it says, it is the oldest road in Italy today. As you might have guessed, it was built to transport salt. So I can tell from that sentence, transport salt, if they're talking about roads, it probably means to move it from one place to another. The next question, what is another word for salary as it is used in paragraph 3? So it says, this pay was called salarium argentums, or salt money, giving us our word salary today. In fact, the word soldier comes from the Latin soldare, meaning to give salt. So if you're giving money, that would be a salary. So it talks about they were giving salt, they were being paid with salt. So now we're not paid with salt, we're paid with money. So a salary is to give someone money for work that they've done. All right, the next question. Why was salt so difficult to get 2,000 years ago? So I'm going to go back. A key word in that question is 2,000 or 2,000 years ago. That would be a key phrase. So it says around 2,000 years ago, some Some of the people with salt and power were the Romans. That doesn't tell me why it was difficult to get. So let's keep looking. Well, it says, but it hasn't always been so easy to get salt. This tiny crystal cube has played a much more important role in history than just flavoring our fries. So that tells me it wasn't always easy to get salt, but doesn't tell me why it was so difficult to get salt. Well, then it says one way Rome controlled salt was by building villages along the Mediterranean coast. This gave them access to the sea where they could harvest salt. So that Romans kind of blocked that area, so only they were able to get salt. So that would make it more difficult for everybody else to get salt. They would have to get the salt from the Romans. Why is salt so important? So we did talk about towards the end of our text, human beings can't live without salt. So salt's very important for humans to be able to continue to live. What happens if there is too much salt in the human body? So if we look at towards the end of paragraph 5, it says, however, too much salt can cause kidneys to work overtime, blood vessels to swell, and blood pressure to go dangerously high. Then it says down towards the bottom of paragraph 6, our diets, for example, might contain extremely low or extremely high amounts of salt. If this goes on for too long, there could be serious consequences, even death. So it tells us these are things that could happen to the human body if we don't get enough salt or if we get too much salt. Okay, so our daily question. Select a statement that explains why salt is important to the human body. A, in both the Revolutionary War and Civil Wars, keep salt away from soldiers was important. Oh, keeping salt away from soldiers was important. B, without this mineral, our cells, nerves, and muscles can't do their job properly. C, however, too much salt can cause kidneys to work overtime, blood vessels to swell, and blood pressure to go high. D, our diets, for example, might contain extremely low or extremely high amounts of salt. Remember, we're trying to tell why salt is important to the human body. All right, pick your answer. All right, so the answer is B. Without this mineral, our cells, nerves, and muscles can't do their jobs properly. And that's the sentence we identified when we were reading paragraph 5. So that's why it's the answer. Okay, so we're going to stop right there. Go ahead and make sure you watch the next video, which is going to be our second text. All right, see you soon.